What's up, Previews World? It is Wednesday. It is New Comic Book Day, which means it's time for Previews World Weekly. I'm one of your hosts, Troy Jeffrey Allen.
I'm your other host, Ashton Greenwood, aka the Duchess of Free Comic Book Day. Not much to say there. Free Comic Book Day, it happened.
It was a thing. Sorry, I'm dropping my phone, trying to cut it off. It did happen, and it was successful.
It was a really fun day.
So that's nice. That's nice to know. And we already know now that next year is going to be on May 4th. So,
can't wait.
So expect a lot of Star Wars in this for that one, that's for sure. Speaking of movies that take place in space, I saw Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Ooh, what did you think?
Wait, are you actually interested in this one?
I have not seen it. Right. I do want to see it because I caught up with some friends last night for dinner, and both of them spoke very, very highly of it. Both of them said they had very emotional reactions to a lot of the subject matter. And one of them phrased it as, if you are an animal lover, you will love this movie.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, sold.
It's almost manipulative in that regard.
Okay.
It was solid. I kind of prefer 2 more, I think, personally, the second movie. But that's not really here nor there. Like,
okay.
it's just,
I don't remember that movie at all.
I enjoyed that movie thoroughly. I was actually surprised because I did not love the first movie. So the second movie, I don't know. There's when I first saw the first movie, I wasn't crazy about it, and I think that might have been a little bit of just like fanboy, like, this isn't how I want the Marvel Universe to function, like that sort of thing, you know.
That's pretentious.
Then I saw it is, and then I saw 2, and then I rewatched 1, and I was like, actually no, 1's fine. There's nothing wrong with number 1.
1's great. You know what? I loved Hooked on a Feeling as a child. It was one of those like pure 70s CDs that my dad used to play for me as a small child. That song's a banger. And as soon as I heard it in that movie, I was like, yes, I am sold on this. I don't care what happens the rest of the time I'm here. Yes.
This is the movie I want to see. I know, Johnny, can you back me up on this? I associate Hooked on a Feeling with Reservoir Dogs.
It's been a long time since I've heard that.
You haven't seen that in a while? Okay.
Well, that's not the song I equate with that.
Which one is it?
Stuck in the Middle with You.
That one too.
Ooh,
that's
good
another
song.
one. Absolutely, yeah. But yeah, I mean, it feels like a send-off. It's very sentimental. And like almost uncharacteristically so for a Marvel movie.
Okay.
Which is good. I think that's a good change of pace, actually, because we get a lot of jokey stuff from Marvel sometimes, and it's like a little bit. It can be overkill real quick. But yeah, I'm always impressed with James Gunn's ability to dial into the comic booky stuff and make it stick. Like, he has been very good at that. Even with the Suicide Squad movies, like, this is extremely, like, these are deep cuts, and he is like owning these deep cuts. And
really?
It's kind of the same thing with this as well. It's like he manages to make a lot of aspects of the comic book elements work in this movie frame. Also, first F-bomb in the MCU.
Oh, I did hear that was going to be a thing, and did it work?
Yeah, actually, like, it snuck up on me, and I was like, oh, okay, that's what they were talking about. All right, that's fine. Because, you know, I don't know, like, how much do you know about the MPAA rating system?
I mean, I would say an average amount.
Okay, so an F-bomb will get you an R rating if it's an action. If you say it as an action.
Oh, okay. Otherwise, you get 1 as a PG-13.
As a PG-13, so they got their 1.
Right.
So just some history about the archaic nature of the rating system in Hollywood.
Everybody gets 1.
Everybody gets 1. There you go.
Unless you're Hobbs and Shaw, you can double down and get a 2 for 1.
Get a 2 for 1. I mean, that was right. Yeah, Fast 10 is this week, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh boy, man.
Can't wait.
Oh boy. I might hold off. Well, actually, I can't afford to hold off and see this because so much stuff. We just found out the Spider-Verse is coming out at the end of the month. And
we did.
I'm obligated to see The Little
not know
Mermaid,
that.
so I got a busy next couple of weeks. I got to go to movies. Got to make stuff happen.
Darn.
I know, right? It's hard. It's difficult.
Can I ask a question very quickly?
Yeah.
Why did it bother you when they swore in the Star Wars universe, but it did not bother you when they swore in the Marvel universe?
Because the Marvel characters are like mentally disturbed, like all of them. There's something wrong with every single one of those characters in some capacity. So
okay, I think that's kind of a dumb justification.
I don't hold them on the pedestal of purity, I guess, that the Star Wars universe is, I guess, put on in my mind. I guess I don't know. You know, it's like the Marvel characters are extremely flawed and would most likely curse.
Okay.
Also, you know, whatever. I'm not going to get into it anymore. Whatever.
We do have some comments I want to get to
what's
real
going
quick.
on?
Fat Tony saying, greetings, friends. Another new comic book day is upon us, and I'm looking forward to hanging out with all of you for the next hour.
Welcome,
Thank
Filoni.
you, Tony.
And Annie Fox saying hello.
Hello.
What's up,
Exclamation
Annie?
point.
Saying hard to be inside when the weather is so nice outside, but don't want to miss Troy and Ashton.
Oh, thank you.
You can watch us on your mobile device.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
Thank you for that plug, Johnny.
You can take the phone outside. Watch us on YouTube.
DJ Young saying hi, everyone.
What's
Hey,
up,
DJ?
DJ?
Annie also saying that she loved Guardians 3.
Nice,
Okay.
nice.
Solid. I definitely need to say it.
Fat Tony saying, do we get an F-bomb in here?
Yes, as of right now. Ashton?
Nope.
No? Okay.
I want to say I think I have dropped the F-bomb on this show in the past completely by accident.
I think you've dropped the S-bomb. You like the S-bomb.
On more than one occasion.
Yeah,
Yes.
more than once you said the S-bomb on the show.
Yes. That's an accident, I swear.
It's an easy one to kind of slip out of, kind of
It
feel.
is.
The F-bomb takes a little bit more effort.
You know it's coming. That kid, it's not an accident.
Like,
It's
when you
never
break
an
that out,
accident.
you know you're going to say it, right? So, yeah, I'm with you on that. That's actually, it's an interesting rule of thumb. You mentioned Star Wars earlier. File this under, should have done this in the first place. There's a rumor going around. I got to correct, I have to make that clear. That Dave
Rumor has
Filoni's
it.
untitled Star Wars crossover film is an adaptation of Heir to the Empire. To which Ashton says,
I would love that.
yeah.
Also, I would cry nerd tears about it. And I just bought this book on Free
Yeah.
Comic Book Day, so now I definitely have to read it, as if I didn't have reason enough before. This is going to be like a theatrical movie.
Yeah.
We're going to get to see Mando on the big screen.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, so I was kind of confused about this because my impression was that after this season of Mandalorian, they were going to do a live action Mandalorian movie. But maybe that,
I've heard that as well.
I heard that as well,
too.
but maybe
Yeah.
this was what they were talking about. I don't pay that close attention to some of this
Right.
gossipy stuff when it comes to stuff because I want to be surprised.
Yeah.
So I may be wrong about that, but yeah, if this is what they're doing, if this is the angle they're taking, thank you, because you guys could have saved us so much suffering
Lord, for real.
if you had just done this in the first place.
Why was this not the immediate sequel trilogy? Why were we trying to do the whole Rey thing?
The whole Rey thing. And you know, I'm gonna just point, actually, to answer your question, it's because Disney didn't want to pay people. That's my certified take on this. Is like Disney didn't want to pay people like Timothy Zahn for the effort they put into building the Star Wars universe.
Right.
So yes, go do an Heir to the Empire movie, a trilogy, whatever needs to be done to make that a reality.
Oh, that's a great point, because I remember when Disney first acquired Lucasfilm, Kathleen Kennedy, my bud, she was all about Star Wars Legends, and we have all this material, and we
Yeah.
can adapt it, and da-da-da-da, and she mentioned it a billion times in interviews, and then it came time to start producing and building the frameworks of these movies, and suddenly that stuff didn't exist to her
Right,
anymore.
Yeah, and suddenly it's the expanding universe and all this other stuff. Yeah, I think they learned a lesson from Marvel. Because every inker, letterer, penciler, writer came out the woodwork during the Marvel, during the first couple of phases of MCU. I made that, pay me.
Valid.
So, you know,
Valid.
and that's valid. Whatever, but yeah, right move. New Mission Impossible trailer is out. I haven't watched it yet, but I'm excited because I will always watch Mission Impossible.
Sure.
And I know you don't sound as enthused as I am. And the Spider-Verse trailer also dropped this week and also looked pretty cool. So
I
I'm into that.
mean, Tom Cruise is a wackadoodle. I did watch Top Gun Maverick last night for the 5th time, but
It's very rewatchable.
it really is.
It's a lot of fun. It really is. So much so that I was disappointed that Avatar got best special effects, but I think Top Gun should have got it. But
Let me tell you, my mom took that personally.
what, that Avatar got best special effects at the Oscars?
Over Top Gun.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
She is a big Top Gun fan. She loved Top Gun Maverick. She was ranting. Had to exit the room for a minute.
Well, your mom and I are in solidarity because I was upset about that too.
Couple more comments real quick.
What's up, guys?
Annie Fox saying there's Thrawn before he was a baddie.
Oh, the movie is.
I guess so.
Baddie in that a bad guy, or baddie in the sexy way?
Oh,
I don't know.
interesting.
And
That could go
Fantastic
either
Four
way,
saying
actually.
super excited for more Thrawn, arguably my favorite bad guy in the Star Wars universe.
Ooh,
Nice.
interesting.
That's a take. Okay.
That is a take.
That is a take. I mean, we can only do so much with Darth Vader, though. I mean, he's had a good run.
I like Prince Shizor, but he's kind of part of the Empire era, so they can't really do that.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully it's a real thing. We'll find out. Eventually, they'll break news about it. I love how Kathleen Kennedy will jump to like tell you about like anything that they've got in production like 5 years before it comes out. But this we just don't know.
Right, like, okay.
Anyway, let's get into some comics. We have our picks this week, and on top of that, we're going to show you a little bit more of what's available at your local comic shop. You can play along. Go to prevsworld.com/new releases. I'll remind you of that later. But here we are. It's New Release Wednesday. Let's go. All right. I'm going to go first because I just want to get this out of the way.
Okay.
So Jerry Dugan and Scott Koblish have a book called Giant Cockatoo #2.
Oh my God, I forgot about this.
Yes. If I recommend something to you guys, look, I'm going to tell you right now, if I recommend something on the show, chances are it's going to be left at least off center and a little wild. That's exactly what this book is. This is about a giant horny kaiju that may be the result of Earth's neglect toward the environment.
I want to know how that outcome, why that made that outcome, but I'm not mad at it.
I mean, I've only seen one issue. I've only read the first issue. Issue 2's out this week, but that is what is largely implied in the first issue.
I have some follow-up questions about the horny kaiju part, which is like, what do you do about that? You got to find another kaiju.
That's also fair. Or the kaiju could just like copulate with city buildings and relieve itself on the street, which is what happens in issue 1.
Incredible.
Somewhere in here is a cautionary tale about pollution, but it's really a vehicle to be absurd and hilarious and gross, and we all need that from time to time. If you're in the mood for some crude humor and monsters, I actually have been in a giant monster mood lately.
Okay,
and
sure.
so I rewatched Pacific Rim and forgot about the part where the pregnant kaiju gives birth to a baby. And then the baby tries to kill Ron Perlman kills Ron Perlman and tries to kill Charlie Day. So if that made you laugh out loud when you saw Pacific Rim, then you should probably read Giant Cockatoo this week.
How big is a baby kaiju?
It's not an Empire State Building big, but it's like as big as a two-family home.
Okay,
as a single family home.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
right, and then it would get that. You know what? That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, so there you go. Then of course it'll get bigger. So there you go. Giant Cockatoo. It sounds like an ethnic slur sometimes when I say it, but I promise
feels like
it's
a hate
not.
crime.
Feels like a hate crime sometimes when I say it, but it is hilarious, and it's the 3-issue series. #2's out today from Image Comics. Not for the faint of heart, but definitely for the blackest of souls. Go check it out.
Mitch Comics is out here printing some of the wildest things they can get their hands on.
Yes, absolutely. What's your pick this week?
My
Ashton?
pick this week feels kind of pretentious by comparison now.
Well, I lowered the bar, so it's okay.
Jesus Christ. Okay, my pick this week is Lost in Taiwan. So I've recently just finished this book called Less by Andrew Sean Greer. It won the Pulitzer in 2018. It's fantastic. It tackles a lot of themes, but kind of one of the main themes it tackles is like the American abroad and kind of the caricature of being like stepping all over yourself in a goofy way and being entitled and kind of disrespectful of other cultures.
Yeah, okay. Guilty. Uh-huh.
So I kind of have been like wanting that same thing or something in the similar vein because I liked that book so much. I'm looking for something to scratch that itch, and this is weirdly that.
It's
like,
exactly that.
Captures it perfectly. But it also has undertones of romance, which you know I'm all about. So it centers on Paul, who goes to visit his brother in Taiwan, and Paul super does not want to be there, like does not care to explore a new country, does not care for like any sort of cultural immersion, pass on all of that. And so he tries to go to the electronics store, he wants to get whatever it was, video games, gets lost because he's in, Taiwan, in a country he has no interest in knowing anything about. So he gets hella lost and is trying to find his way back home. And of course, in the midst of that, he's like forced to explore and falls in love with the city and also maybe makes a friend or a more than friend.
Okay.
Very much slice of life, very much kind of the same things I always pick. But it's scratching an itch I'm really after.
Okay. No, I like that. That's cool. I mean, hey, we ran the gamut.
Right?
Proof that comics can indeed be anything that they need to be. So, Lost in Taiwan. Who's that from, actually? Little Brown Ink.
Yeah.
I haven't heard of that one before, actually.
Me neither. And Mark Crilly writes and illustrates.
Okay, nice. That's a really cool the illustration. Actually looks really nice. Both available at your local comic shop today. And you know what else is available at your local comic shop? I won't tell you, but Anna Mia will. Check this out.
Hey everyone, do you know what new comics are coming out this week? No? Well, let's take a look. Here's some of what you can find at your friendly local comic shop for the week of May 17th, 2023. Be sure to pick up a copy of this month's previews catalog to see all the amazing pop culture goodies that you can pre-order at your friendly local comic shop.
Hakes is back with another amazing auction that is chock full of pop culture awesomeness. Here are just some of the incredible items that you can find over at Hakes.com. Today, May 17th, is the final day of the auction, but there are still plenty of video games, VHS tapes, Star Wars memorabilia, action figures, and toys left to bid on. Get your bids in now over at Hakes.com. Hakes, America's first collectibles auction house.
Merry Christmas.
You completely threw me off with that.
Sorry.
Yes, Hakes auction ends today. This is the final day. I'm not sure which portion of the auction is actually over with yet, but as you can see, you can do video games, comics, toys, VHS are also part of this now, which is kind of interesting.
Would not have disrespected my VHS tapes as a child had I known.
The lack of love my VHS tapes received is actually kind of criminal if I'd known that they were worth so much now. Also political memorabilia, which we don't talk a lot about, but there is like a lot of like legit American history and this is part of this, in addition to the American pop culture history as well that's available
like
at
campaign
Hakes.
buttons and stuff.
Exactly. So yeah, definitely check it out, and also keep an eye out for next time because the Hakes auction happens every few months, so there will be more opportunities to place your bid. Go to Hakes.com and check all that out. I also want to point out, I meant to mention this when we were doing our picks. There's an Avengers #1 out this week, and one of the variant covers is phenomenal. Like I just think it looks amazing. Like it's John Tyler Christopher.
That's awesome.
And it is such an interesting use of negative space, and I just am in love with that image. So much so that I put it on my phone. So that's the ultimate compliment in 2023.
That is true.
Is it a wallpaper? Yes, it is.
I love that there's no trade dress on it either, because that would have distracted
That would have distracted from it, exactly. So yeah, I mean, actually another reason you go to pleaseworld.com/new releases, find yourself a nice comic book wallpaper. How about that? That floral one that you get automatically when you download, when you get an Android or whatever iPhone gives you, you don't want that. You want some comic book art. So go over to pleaseworld.com/new releases.
You're not wrong.
And just have a ball. Go crazy. Go
have a ball.
Let's get into some news.
I'm ready.
We've got some interesting topics this week. This is actually a really interesting one.
Yeah.
Ashton's got the news and she's going to put us on. Let's go.
News time.
because you said it so deadpan, I just was like, wait, what did she just say? Never mind. You guys had to be there. I'm sorry.
I was here and I didn't hear it.
Oh, you didn't hear it either? Okay, well, it wasn't meant for your ears, Johnny. I'm sorry.
I will not be repeating myself.
You're not repeating yourself at all. Wasn't it a pick too? Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Did I pick it? I'll pick it next time the next volume comes out.
Maybe. I thought it was a pick one time that we mentioned or something like that. Anyway.
I think you picked it.
No.
You
might
You might have been
I
like,
might have.
this is hilarious.
Right, yeah, I probably. Okay, we're talking about the book Dick Fight Island, which we definitely talked about on the show before. Anyway, what's going on in the news?
Archie.
I mean, we just couldn't keep talking about it and not tell people what it was. Anyway, we talked about it on the show before. Anyway, what's going on in the
And
land
we'll be
of Archie?
talking about it again next to the time the next volume comes
Next
out.
volume comes out, right, exactly. Anyway.
Okay, all right, serious face.
Yeah, serious face.
Serious topic. Okay, so Archie Comics is introducing their very first transgender character later this year. It will be in Chilling Adventures Presents Strange Science. The character's name is Danny Malloy, and they actually made their Archie debut in Archie's free comic book day book, The Cursed Library.
Okay,
So
right.
you picked that up, then you have the first appearance of Archie's first ever transgender character, which is incredible. So this will be hitting comic shops later this year in the end of summer, August 2023. No specific date yet. I imagine that's forthcoming, but it will at least be in August. And I imagine this will be a lot of fun. It's part of the Archie horror universe, which can never miss. And
That's true.
basically everybody's favorite dumb nerd, Dilton Doily, creates a time machine. It goes horribly awry, as it does anytime there's a time machine in a story. And Danny has to fix it because Dilton has messed up the entire timeline in Riverdale.
Okay. I feel like he's done that before. Like,
I think he has
specifically
to.
the time machine thing. I feel like this happened quite a few times. Anyway.
So, but that's big news, and I would hope that Danny would go on to become kind of a mainstay.
Yeah, like Kevin Keller
Exactly.
and the Blossoms, right? The Blossoms, yeah, Cheryl Blossom, brother. Yeah, I mean, I actually kind of love the idea that Archie is actually expanding its cast.
Right?
Like, it's not like an aggressive expansion, but every so years they introduce a new character that
Yeah.
becomes part of the landscape that is Archie, which is interesting because I swear, probably prior to that, there probably hadn't been a new character for like about 30 years.
Got the same four characters
Right,
doing
exactly.
the same things over and over again.
Right. You'd be in like, occasionally Midge or Moose would show up and you'd be like, oh, I forgot about these two. Let it be known, I read Archie.
Yeah, apparently, because
what
that
el-
is like a side
That's a side-
character.
Are they in Riverdale?
They are.
Oh, they are, okay. Yeah.
Midge gets murdered in season 2.
Oh,
but-
damn. Is Moose her boyfriend?
Moose is her boyfriend, but Moose is also, I can't remember if Moose is bi or if he's gay, because he also has a thing with Kevin in Riverdale.
Okay, Keller. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, the jock thing. Okay, gotcha. All right, we're going that angle. Did he like get mad and try to avenge Midge's death or anything like that, or was he like disconnected by that point?
He was kind of disconnected. That was also part of the entire Griffins and Gargoyles side quest, and the Griffin King was like murdering people in town.
Okay. I was following you up until that point.
They played Cursed Dungeons and Dragons, and then everybody died.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
It's basically what that was.
Riverdale. Gotta love it. May it rest in peace. What else is going on?
Oh yeah, they're back in time right now, by the way.
Oh, I thought it was done.
Nah, a meteor hit Riverdale, and everyone went back to the 1950s, and now it's the final season.
Oh, okay. So like a little bit of a throwback, I guess, to the comics, maybe. I don't know.
I'm convinced that they don't even know what's going on. Also, one of the actresses, the one that plays Betty, Lily Reinhart, gave an interview to somebody and was like, yeah, sometimes we don't get the scripts until the day of shootings. I'm like, wait, these people obviously don't know what they're
Yikes. Okay. I mean, I guess it's that type of show, so whatever. It's all good.
I
What else
just
is
have
going
to
on?
say real quick, by the way, that when Ashton describes Riverdale, it's like our segment when Troy badly explains a
I was thinking that too. Right. Did we talk about you doing an entire Riverdale video? We talked about you doing some video of explaining something. I can't
fan
remember.
fiction.
Oh, fan fiction. Yeah, we got to do that. We have to do that, please. All right, what else is going on in the news?
Okay, well, speaking of Cursed Dungeons and Dragons, there's regular Dungeons and
Oh,
Dragons.
there is. This is true.
And they're getting a streaming channel.
Yeah.
So Hasbro is launching a free ad-supported streaming channel, and it'll have new and classic Dungeons and Dragons programming, and it'll be subsidized through E1 Entertainment. So they announced this last week, and they said that basically this channel is going to have some unscripted series, some actual play content of people like actually playing Dungeons and Dragons, animated content, comedy, and cooking. Those last two they lost me a little bit with that one.
Interesting.
But I think there's two kind of main things to mention here in the way of content. The first one is they'll be re-airing some of the classic 1980s D&D animated shows. And then they'll also be capturing Encounter Party, which is a long-running D&D actual play podcast. And that'll be kind of like the main show on this streaming platform, is they'll take it from a podcast and make it more into like video content in the vein of Critical Role.
Interesting. And this was just announced this past week, huh?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Like I know that I've been listening to a lot of news, entertainment news, and I know that Hasbro is doing major layoffs right now.
Yeah.
And also, it kind of coincided at the time with the announcement that the D&D movie, which was really good, by the way, like it was actually very entertaining. But the D&D movie didn't make the money it needed to. So yeah, it was just I was a little surprised by that because I thought it seemed like it was a hit when it came out.
Yeah, I thought it was popular.
I guess it just kind of crawled to the finish line after that. But regardless, it's interesting that they're moving forward under D&D plans, regardless. Because, but I mean, D&D is a monster. It's been around forever. So
I think this would be popular, and I think there's a lot to do here. And I think the success of Critical Role, if that's your only benchmark, tells you that this has a lot of potential.
Absolutely. I'm kind of surprised it's not like on a Twitch or something like that. But I guess they don't want to play in someone else's Sandlot. They want to kind of do their own thing, even though it's going to Tubi and potentially or some other stuff.
Right.
So we'll see. But yeah, very interesting, very cool.
A couple of comments real quick.
What's going on, comments?
Annie Fox is saying from earlier, Heir to the Empire is the backstory of Thrawn before he got involved in the Star Wars saga.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I still want to know what you meant by baddie.
Ashley just wants the answer that she wants. What else we got?
Fantastic Four saying he only has one VHS tape, and it's the Orange Rugrats movie VHS tape.
Oh my God, that's a classic.
Is it a classic? Okay.
Yes, that was such a big deal when that came out.
You might want to see if that's worth anything, Stan. I'm just saying.
And Fat Tony's saying, little by little, they're bringing in the expanded universe characters and ideas into canon. Can Mara Jade be far behind?
I'm a fan, yes. Thank you very much. I'm a fan of Miss Mara Jade, absolutely. Luke's wife, all about it.
Is that a good or bad idea?
To bring Mara Jade in?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I guess it's not too late. But, I think it's a great idea. I think, we need more backstory on Luke. I mean, I'm fine. I saw somebody mention the other day that it would have been great to get just an animated series voiced by Mark Hamill of the years between Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens.
Okay, thank you for saying that, because I was just sitting here thinking, I'm very much a Luke purist, and I acknowledge that would make me part of the problem.
No, that's fine.
Part of the Star Wars problem.
You're not a nerd if you're not a purist about something.
Right. I am 100% against any sort of live action Star Wars with Mara Jade.
No more.
I don't want it.
Don't want it. No.
It's a bad idea.
Well, why specifically with Mara Jade?
Because I don't want to see Mara Jade apart from Luke, and I'm kind of against CGIing Luke to death. And similarly, I don't want to see her just show up later in the future at whatever Mark Hamill's current age is, and now she's suddenly present, right?
Okay.
I don't want her to just be thrown in. It's shock and surprise, Luke has a wife. That's useless. That's emotional manipulation and nerd baiting. Pass.
Right.
If you're gonna do it, it needs to be around the same time period it was when she got introduced in previous.
Right, in the novels. Absolutely.
Yeah. Which means it would have to be animated.
Yeah, no. Okay, I see that. Actually, I'm with you on that because there is something kind of hokey and very Hollywood about the alternative, right? To kind of be oh, here she is.
Right.
You don't need to do that. Yeah, give us a live action thing. I'm saying, give us an animated thing. Right. I think that would be really cool. Yes, of course, Mark Hamill can voice the character.
Right.
Which is fine, and I think that would be awesome. I would love that.
Honestly, I think it would be really cool because that could easily go into the point and tie it in with the sequels and, have tied in with the Knights of Ren.
Yes.
Maybe the Knights of Ren had like slaughtered her or something like that. So there's a lot of different ways.
Oh no!
I mean, you kind of have to kill her off, I guess, just because of the. I mean, I guess if we're making a Rey movie, so I'm assuming Force Awakens, Last Jedi, and Rise of Skywalker is still canon in some capacity.
Unfortunately.
And I'm assuming Luke is a hermit. He's like, he's clearly cut off all human ties. So I'm assuming. I mean, I guess you don't have to kill her off, but she's not around in some capacity, right? So, I don't know. Ashton, I can see Ashton's face. I just like, I don't like any of this.
The longer we talked about it, the less and less I was like, we should do this. Now I'm like, maybe we should just,
I think that's
let dying dogs lie. Leave that one alone.
Yeah, that's true. There's also an aspect of that as well. Ugh. That's a tough one.
The big problem with what made like the sequel trilogies unsuccessful is people have this expectation of Luke and what they think Luke Skywalker would do, how he would act.
Absolutely.
And he didn't do any of those things in the sequel trilogy. And that's why people got upset. You run a huge risk of doing the same thing again with her and then doubling down on it because you pick a character from the novels that people also like.
Yeah.
It's just...
It's basically you don't have much faith in...
No, I have no faith in
the current regime
No.
and their ability to execute accordingly. I mean, I feel like that was one of the great things about The Mandalorian is like, okay, I mean, they made the mistake of doing a Boba Fett show, which the more I think about it, I think was more under pressure than anything. Like,
Probably, yeah.
But like, the thing I liked about The Mandalorian is like, it would have been easy to do a Boba Fett show and just go that route and do 3 seasons of that. Like, instead of doing like, okay, let's do a show about a different Mandalorian. I guess technically Boba Fett's not a Mandalorian.
Yeah, he's a
but like, a different character basically, and go that route. And that was one of the things I appreciated about it because I'm like, okay, we still get the Star Wars universe. We get it from someone else's perspective. I like that a lot. So,
I think that's what makes it most successful. Is like the Star Wars universe as it expands. Like the closer and closer you get to the Skywalker saga, the muckier it gets, and the less successful, less room there is for success.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of always feel like, what, the Skywalker saga was Lucas's story. He told it. We're done.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of how I've always felt. Like, I'm just like, even regardless of how I feel about the prequels, that was his story.
Right.
We're done. We don't need any more. Like, and I would have been happy just cutting it off there and like, having references to all these other characters in the background without us having to see deadbeat Han Solo, deadbeat dead Han Solo. Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the part that hurts the most. All right. More stuff in the news. I'll jump on this. So there's been a collection of reveals for a Frank Miller's upcoming variant covers for Marvel, which is kind of a big deal because he hasn't done anything for Marvel in a while, as far as I know.
Yeah.
Like a long time.
He's got all his own stuff going on, but he hasn't done any Marvel stuff.
Exactly. But it turns out that, big shocker and surprise, the internet feels some way about it.
Wow, the internet has an opinion. That's crazy.
There's been a viral, this is from CBR, there was a viral reaction on social media over the weekend in response to the release of Marvel's upcoming Ghost Rider Wolverine Weapons of Vengeance #1, which features a Frank Miller variant cover drawing of Wolverine. Like, of course, like, so if you've been online lately, and you are in comics, in some capacity, any capacity, you probably have seen with this conversations. Like, people are, I guess, disillusioned by the quality of Frank Miller's artwork. And so that is one aspect of it. Some people are defending him.
Sure.
Some people are saying that he should just hang it up. Here's my thing, right?
Who are you to make that decision?
Thank you. I mean, first of all, there's that, right? And, we just talked about this with the Skywalker stuff, right? Okay, you want people to age gracefully, right?
Yeah.
Like, like in the entertainment world, but you also need to allow them to age gracefully. Like, you know what I mean? You need to give them room to do that. Don't be a dick. I'm sorry, but I mean, that's part of it. And like, but also but also understand something that, and this is mostly a rant, I guess, at this point.
Do it, let's hear it.
But also understand that like, comic book art is labor intensive. It is something that people physically do, right?
Yep.
And there have been so many examples of draftsmen in comics, architecture, whatever, whose hands look mangled after doing this for years. Ooh. Like, you know what I mean? And I don't know if the advent of digital technology and working on your tablets and Wacom's and whatnot, I don't know if that's actually going to do away with that level of labor intensive and like intensiveness. Like, but understand that Frank Miller is a cartoonist. He's been doing this since as far as I know, like the late 60s, like mid 70s. And you know what? Time takes a toll.
Yeah.
You know, and
he's an old guy.
He's an older guy.
Rude, but like.
Right, not to be rude about it, but he's an older guy. So, you know, there is a chunk of superhero comic readers that have a very hard time accepting these characters can be drawn differently from the era of comics that they came up into.
That's a great
That's
point.
another thing too, as well.
That's a great point.
Now, you know, there's a lot of people who came up in comics in the 2000s after Frank Miller had already had several career-defining moments,
right,
who are reacting to this. And some of that is just people just being cruel, I kind of feel, right? I get this a lot. I tend to get this reaction a lot from people who grew up in comics in the 80s and seeing Frank Quitely's work now. Like in the early 2000s, like they want John Byrne, they want George Perez. Frank Quitely doesn't draw like them, so they have this disconnect, and they just say it sucks. But here's the thing: like, comic art can be diverse. Like, you know what I mean?
And it should be.
And it should be. And I think that, like, you know, we talk a lot about house styles for different publishers. Marvel has a house style, not so much as DC. DC definitely has a house style, but you know, we have to kind of allow artists to be artists. Like this is something we talk about this so much on the show. I feel like
all the time.
like all the time. Like this, you know, this these expectations of what something has to be all the time, and it's like it doesn't have to be like that all the time. Not everything is made for you as a reader, right? Yeah. And you have to kind of like, you know, move through that. And I see that so much with people who grew up in comics. Like I see people who argue like, oh, they need to draw comics like they did in the '90s, and they're referring to like Jim Lee and Todd McFarlane and Rob Liefeld, Eric Larson. And here's the funny thing about that: those guys were breaking the norm. That's the irony.
That's hilarious.
Like that's the funny thing about this is like those guys were doing the opposite of what John Byrne and George Perez were doing. They were coming in and getting flack at first for being like too out there, having the anime influence, like having all these other influences that weren't the house style. So things change, guys. Like, it's okay. It's all right. And, like, you know, creators get older. And I think, if anything, I would say this is probably a great opportunity to just point out, you know, support like Hero Initiative and stuff like that. Because comic writers, comic creators, comic artists, they don't have a union. They don't have the type of support and health insurance that, like, you know, someone who has like a nice cushy corporate job like we do does, right?
Guilty.
So you know what, like, stop bitching and support and show love to these creators, for God's sake. It's just so, I don't know, this kind of ticked me off because it was just so mean.
I think it is very mean, and I think probably the two things I would want to point out here, one is, in the vein of being mean, like, if you're going to get on the internet and, like, pass all of this judgment on somebody else's art, let me see you do better first.
I mean, there's also
like,
that. Like, can you draw?
Right. I cannot. I'll keep my mouth shut.
Right, exactly.
And then the second thing is, the key word here is art.
Right.
Artists.
Yeah.
Like, no two pieces of art are the same, and that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, exactly, right.
You wouldn't ask a Picasso to be drawn like a Van Gogh, or
right. Yeah.
So why are you asking that of comic book artists?
Well, comic book artists, and I mean, yeah, and again, I think that says a lot to how the regard that we hold comic book art.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there is an aspect of this that's sort of like, this is supposed to be like McDonald's. Like, you know what I mean? Where I can order off the menu exactly what I want. It better be, it better have Jim Lee's head and Alex Ross art and like this and this and that. And it's like, that's not what this is. That is not what this is. It still is a form of artistic expression, even if you work for, you know, Disney or Warner Brothers under Marvel, DC, whatever. So, and I know some people have issues with Frank Miller's statements in the past, or also in the past, I will point that out, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, the art is the art. I feel like there's a disconnect, and I think there should be a disconnect. That's me personally. I know not everybody agrees with me, but that's how I feel. I also like the Blade and Moon Knight cover. I think Johnny popped them up earlier, but I actually think these are cool.
The Moon Knight cover's insane.
Yeah, the Moon Knight cover is actually pretty cool. I like that one, and I like the Blade one as well. So, anyway. That's our little rant. It was supposed to be a news item, but it turned into a rant.
Yeah, out here preaching.
We do have a couple more comments.
What's up, comments? What do you guys got for us?
Fox is saying, maybe baddie isn't a good term in terms of Thrawn. He's just a very threatening and heavy character in Star Wars Rebels.
Okay, got you. He's the big bad.
Stantastic Force saying, I just think that if Luke had a wife at some point, something about her should have at least been mentioned in the sequel trilogy. Feels like it's too late now.
No,
Valid.
I think that's where you were coming from on this too, right? Yeah, I get that.
And he's saying Thrawn's relationship with Anakin, maybe this is a spoiler, influences the side he picks in Star Wars.
And
That's correct. It's only a spoiler depending on how much you know about, like, Clone Wars and Rebels.
Okay, all right.
And
anything else?
Mystical Green Bean is here. I have to read his message first.
Johnny's screening his message.
I am.
You kind of have to. Look what you've done to
fair.
us.
The whole debate around Frank's art is a highlight of the battle between art and intellectual property.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Right.
Actually, yeah.
That's valid.
Or he says IP culture, actually.
IP culture, yeah. Like, we love the IP, we don't love the artist. I get that. I respect that.
That's a great take.
Yeah, that's a very good take, actually.
Don't give him too much credit.
Don't give him too much credit. I was actually going to say, he does have a channel and actually does dive into some really interesting topics.
He has a
and
reputation as our resident troll to uphold.
He's also our resident troll, but
It's true.
on his old channel, he does a little bit of trolling himself, but he has some really great conversations about comics every Wednesday, actually. So
Love you, Joaquin.
Love you, Joaquin.
Shout out.
Actually, we're going to have him back on soon because we're going to do an Ultimates roundtable. So, yeah, he'll be part of that for sure. Let's jump into a trailer. So, Conan the Barbarian is now at Titan Comics. Here's a trailer featuring this new series, this new #1, and we'll come back and tell you a little bit more about it. Check it out. That's Conan the Barbarian, #1 by Jim Zub and Roberto De La Torre. Years after the Battle of Venarium, a weary Conan returns to his homeland to seek rest and solitude. However, a mysterious scout rides in to warn the Cimmerians of an imminent threat on the march from the Pictish
Yep, that.
wilderness. Pictish wilderness. It's a made-up word.
Nailed
it.
Perfect.
Will Conan and his new ally be able to hold off the new horde of invaders? So this is, of course, from Titan Comics. Conan exchanging a lot of hands lately.
Yes.
But that said, Jim Zub, great writer, and also Roberto De La Torre, great artist. I'm looking forward to what they're going to do with this series. This has got a cover by Dan Panosian, but it's not the only cover. There's multiple covers. So go to prevsworld.com/catalog and see them all. I wanted to mention something, speaking of prevsworld.com/catalog. I just noticed this today. Mark Millar's Big Game comic has had a mystery cover up on our website for like the last couple of weeks, even though it's been in the catalog for about almost a month now.
Okay.
Finally, there was a cover reveal, and they've been sitting on a lot of aspects of this. But it's a Pepe Larraz cover, which is great, right? He's also doing the interiors. But one thing I noticed is that is the main character from Wanted, which they actually turned into a movie several years ago, which is also a Mark Millar book, next to Nemesis from the comic book currently out right now,
Right.
Nemesis, as well as a few other characters I may not immediately recognize. But this is promising to be the Miller World crossover. So Kick-Ass, Kingsman, Nemesis, the Magic Order, all crisscrossing each other. Not to mention, clearly Wanted is also part of this dynamic as well. And so this is his big crossover event. I'm looking forward to this because Mark Millar does big very well.
Right.
Like he does bodacious, crazy, insane stuff very well. And it's Pepe Larraz, so it's going to look great as well. That's available pre-order right now at your local comic shop. The Big Game, if you're a fan of Miller World, or even like some of his individual stuff in general, like, you know, Kingsman or like I said, Kick-Ass or any of that stuff, then you might want to check this out. That's available to pre-order right now at your local comic shop. All right. Ready for the poll?
I'm ready.
Okay. Let's jump into this week's poll with asinine arguments.
I'm going to snitch on myself. I forgot about the poll this week until literally 3 minutes ago. And I put it up during the Conan trailer. So. Sorry. Also, it's a topic we've already discussed at great length.
Right. We did, definitely.
Because it was the only thing I could think of in a frenzy.
Yeah.
which is, would you want to see a Mara Jade animated series in the Star Wars universe?
I mean, we've already kind of stated yes.
No. I'm stating no, I don't want to see that. Keep it to yourself.
You don't want to see the animated one?
No.
What, so you just flipped like that?
I don't want to see any of it.
Oh, wow, man. Look what you've done, Kathleen Kennedy.
I just am really, really worried about the execution.
Yeah.
And I just don't have faith this can be executed in a way that is true to what people from the novels are expecting, true to the Skywalker saga, true to what we think of when we think of Luke.
Yeah.
And then I thought of this other thing when I was posting it, which is Star Wars is so massive. It has such an enormous fan base. There's so many casual fans, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I don't mind casual
Filthy
fans.
casuals.
I don't mind a filthy
But we love them
casual.
just the same.
But it is, if you're a casual fan, it is made to be such a big point in the prequel series that, prequel trilogy I should say, that Jedi don't get married. They don't have wives. They don't have children. That Anakin is this massive outlier.
He's
in
this anomaly,
doing it.
right? Yeah.
Right. So I see a lot of pot stirring and grenade launching and divisive behavior in the future. Should this come to light?
Well, I mean, if I remember correctly, and keep in mind, my understanding of Mara Jade comes from a handful of Dark Horse books I read, and a video game actually that I played, like in the 90s, which was a fighting game for Jedi. I want to say Fallen Order. That's not what it is at all.
Shadows of the Empire?
No, it's not Shadows of the Empire. It's a fighting game that was on the PlayStation. Now I can't remember what it was.
Is it the one where Plo Koon has a yellow lightsaber?
It's before the prequels.
Oh.
Yeah, it's before the prequels on top of that.
So it was a PlayStation 1 game then?
It was a PlayStation 1 game, yeah. But long story short, I remember that being a point of contention, Luke being married to Mara Jade in those stories as well.
Oh, okay.
So it did factor in. That said, one thing I didn't love about the Mandalorian, or I guess the Boba Fett thing, was Luke's insistence that Grogu cut any ties from any emotional ties. I was like, we did this already. Luke was supposed to be the shift away from that. At least that's how I always perceived it.
Also, he had emotional ties to
Right.
Leia and Han and Chewie and
right,
droids. Like, shut up.
Right. So I did find that a little bit odd. Like, you know what I mean? I remember like when he said that, I was like, we're gonna still do this? Like, I kind of thought that like Luke would be the new generation of like, you know.
And that's even kind of what they hinted at in The Force Awakens with his new Jedi Council.
You're right, yeah. Also true, yeah. So, I mean, we're also expecting the people over there who are responsible for these stories to pay attention to their own continuity. I guess that's asking a lot. But that said, I'd be down for it. I want an animated Mara Jade. I want to animate Luke Skywalker series where at some point he meets Mara Jade and we get a couple seasons of that as well.
I think Disney's already fumbled their opportunity with Luke.
Yeah, but I mean, clearly continuity is very loosey-goosey right now, so they can go backwards if they wanted to at any given time. And I think a lot of people would forgive them if it was done right, but I don't know, Johnny. What about you? Are you on board?
I have no problem with it. First of all, by the way, the game you're talking about, Masters of Terra-Kasai.
Yes, that's it. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Right.
It was like Mortal Kombat. It's like Street Fighter fighting game, but like Star Wars characters.
Yeah.
Oh.
It was not good.
I know what game that is, though. I never played it.
It was not good, but it was very entertaining. Yeah.
I mean, okay. The way I see this, I liken it to the MCU and its source material. Obviously, everything that was in the Marvel comics was not adapted 100% accurately to the big screen. They pick and choose like little bits and pieces to kind of fit this overall world that they're trying to create within the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I feel like that still has a chance within Star Wars. Now, granted, when the prequels came out, this is all pre-Mandalorian, right?
Yeah, right.
So, since Mandalorian has come out, since Andor has come out, and like where it's going now with Ahsoka and everything, I can see a definite overall narrative and a more cohesive world coming together.
For sure.
Now that is starting to be officially established, when they kind of had their shit together, there's our one.
Hey, there it is.
Now that they're getting that together, I feel like there is a possibility with some good writers to get creative, and there would be the ability to put Mara Jade in there in some form or other. Yeah. Be it animated, be it like even in the live action one. So, just the fact that they're bringing Thrawn from the Timothy Zahn books into this shows that it can be done, and it shows that the fandom is excited about it.
That's a good point.
What I find, so I agree with you. I just thought about something. Originally, I swear I remember reading this or seeing this at some point. When they did The Force Awakens, the mentality was that they were reinterpreting like the stories about Han and Leia's kids.
Okay.
Like that, if I remember correctly, that was like the take that they were going for.
Right. Okay.
Now, of course, J.J. Abrams dropped out. There was a bunch of script revisions.
Turned into a misinterpretation.
Ryan Johnson came in, threw a lot of stuff out. J.J. Abrams came back in and tried to put a lot of stuff back in. Became a big old mess. And so, yes, lost in translation 100%.
Yes.
Right. But it just occurred to me that I guess maybe they've attempted to do this in some capacity before, but yeah.
Yeah,
See,
but look
what
at how
happened.
it landed.
Look what happened. Yeah, God, I feel you on that.
We do
This
have
is
a couple
rough.
people chiming in.
Yes,
This
please.
is rough.
Yeah, please.
Fat
Save
Joe is
us.
saying, I'll admit, I would be curious to see what they do with her. If done right, they can introduce her without making her Miss Luke.
At least not off the bat.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't have to go that far. I mean, just the introduction of the character, I think, would make a lot of fans happy anyway.
But see, Ashton's saying like she doesn't even want that. Like, right? It's kind of what you were angling at earlier. It's like don't tease us and dangle this like fan
Yeah.
bait in front of us and just kind of like take it away until you figure it out later.
Right.
Annie Fox is saying she'll go with yes, as long as it's good Star Wars.
Yeah, I mean that's
Okay.
ultimately it,
yes,
right?
that is critically important.
That is ultimately it.
Being said,
Yeah, but where did we land with this?
I think, Troy, you said yes,
I said yes.
and I'll say yes, but with trepidation.
Yeah, okay.
Yes with trepidation.
I think both of
I
us.
should have made that a choice.
Both of you should have.
Yes with trepidation.
I would have gone with. I'll say yes with trepidation as well.
Okay. Well,
All right, 70%. Just went up a few minutes ago, so
Yeah.
we'll see where it lands tomorrow.
oh, we've already had 30 votes, so
Yeah,
not
we will
bad
see.
considering we put it up 5 minutes ago.
Right. Now the Free Comic Book Day Twitter audience is hungry. They like these polls.
They do. They always get a lot of interaction.
Like I should just cast off into Twitter and like they just gobble it up. So go for it. All right.
Sit in this chair correctly.
I mean, nobody's grading us on posture. What is the comic shop shout out for this week?
This week's comic shop shout out goes to Captain Blue Hen Comics
Oh,
in
yeah.
Newark, Delaware, and it comes from Sherry.
I was about to say, yeah, they're kind of local.
Yeah.
Kind of, sort of.
So we'll show you some images inside of Captain Blue Hen Comics at the end of the show during the credits roll. You can check out their shop. If you want us to shout out your local comic book shop on the show, find us on social media, tag your shop. If they don't have a handle, just leave their name, and use the hashtag #SupportYourLCS. Or find your local comic book shop, shout them out on the show, and give them some love.
Some love, just a little bit, not too much. It's good for you. Here's your reminder to like, follow, and subscribe. You can hang out with me at Previews World. You can hang out with Ashton at Free Comic Book Day. It's on the off season, right? So not a lot of activity, but we're gonna do some fun stuff over there, right?
I really enjoy Free Comic Book Day off season because it's all about nerd yelling.
Yeah, that's fair.
And your opinions. And what incredibly obscure opinion you're upset about this week.
Yes. That's absolutely true. So definitely going over there and yell at Ashton as she yells back. It'll be fun. All in good spirit, all in good fun. If you head over to previewsworld.com and hang out with me, here's some of what you can expect on our website. I got a cool interview with Thrawn Grunbeck. I'm going to say Grunbeck.
I want an O like that in my name.
Right, exactly. I'm about to just start changing mine.
How do I get that? Yeah.
Just start spelling it that way. Just make people spell it that way. So there's a new Red Sonja series from Dynamite. This is in celebration of her 50th anniversary. And so Thrawn, who has actually written a bunch of stuff, she's done stuff for Frazetta's Death Dealer over at Opus. She's done Thor over at Marvel. She's currently the writer of Thor over at Marvel. She's also done Valkyries over at Marvel. No stranger to high adventure and fantasy.
Yeah,
right?
you're not kidding.
And so she is the new writer on this series, and she's joined by Walter Giovanni. This is kind of like a return to form, but also promises a sort of slight deconstruction of the Hyborian age in terms of there's something sinister at the base of the era that has defined Conan and Red Sonja, actually.
Okay.
And so Sonja's here to unpack that in some capacity. That is available to pre-order now at your local comic shop and with Previews World Pull Box, I should point out. Also, I've been meaning to point this out for a while. Every single week on previewsworld.com, we give you an exclusive first look at a Marvel title.
That's true.
And so this week happens to be Danny Ketch Ghost Rider. And so that is out this week, but we did the reveal last week. before the book even hits stores. So I know there's a lot of Marvel fans out there. Like, if you are interested in just kind of seeing the interiors for some of these books before you buy, head over to PWW.com on Thursday. That's when we do a reveal. Matter of fact, we're going to have a new one tomorrow. I don't know which one it is just yet, but I will find out tomorrow, probably by the time we get off the show. So definitely check that out. But yeah, if you jump on over there, you get to see new stuff on a regular basis. Not to mention Start Here featured this week. You get to find out what's coming out in comic shops 2 weeks from now. You get to see what's available pre-order 2 months from now. There's a lot of information there for you guys. I think that's it for Previews World Weekly.
We did it.
We did it.
We did it.
We came out on the other side and we survived.
No, we see more.
What?
The end of Dora the Explorer.
Ashton, how old am I? I was born in the 80s, Ashton. Come on. Fair enough. Anyway.
They had a purple squirrel. You missed out.
I know. Okay, what do I know about Dora? Swiper, no swiping.
Correct.
Diego.
Yeah, that's
her
the
brother
cousin.
or cousin. Okay.
The map.
The map.
I don't know anything about that. But yeah, all I know is Swiper, no swiping, and Diego. That's it. So that's
all
about
you need
far.
to know.
That's all I need to know. That's the whole show.
Backpack. Backpack's important.
Haven't picked up a lick of Spanish. Anyway, that is it for Previews World Weekly. I am one of your hosts, Troy Jeffrey Allen.
I'm your other host, Ashton Greenwood.
And we'll see all of you guys at the spinner rack. Catch you later.
Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to Previews World on all of our social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, Twitter, Tinder. Wait, is that not a thing?